The Iraqi Dinar Today latest news, a seismic event in global finance, rarely originates from a single official publication. But the most recent November 2025 edition of the Iraqi Gazette is being viewed by international analysts as exactly that catalyst. For a nation's legal authority, the Gazette has always represented the unassailable, final word on all legislative and state-ratified matters. Now its publication of an extensive government-endorsed decree pertaining to a fundamental currency overhaul marks what many are calling the definitive genesis of the new dinar era. This is far more than a simple domestic economic adjustment. It signifies a massive monetary transformation that is strategically poised to redefine Iraq's economic trajectory and fundamentally challenge long-held conventional models of sovereign currency management on the global stage. The sheer scale and scope of this documented policy shift elevate the ongoing conversation from speculative conjecture to confirmed, detailed statecraft. What makes this release so extraordinary is not just the confirmation of a currency movement, but the comprehensive nature and sheer breadth of its policy implications across multiple sectors. The decree introduces an intricate tapestry of policies that deliberately weave together traditional monetary mechanisms with the adoption of cutting-edge digital integration, stringent requirements for biometric compliance, clear asset-backed guarantees to underpin value, and precisely calibrated phased redemption windows. For the first time in its modern financial history, the Republic of Iraq is formally presenting a unified, legally binding, and actionable path designed to comprehensively resolve decades of historic exchange rate disparities. Crucially, the plan seeks to harmonize and synchronize the domestic market's valuation models with those recognized by the international financial system. For years, rumors surrounding the future of the Iraqi dinar circulated virtually non-stop, dominating financial forums and geopolitical discussions, yet often lacking any verifiable institutional backing. Until this specific published moment, all those discussions remained suspended in an uncertain limbo, oscillating wildly between speculative optimism on one side and entrenched, institutional skepticism on the other. The definitive release of this remarkably comprehensive and detailed legal framework effectively brings that era of damaging ambiguity to an emphatic close. It replaces the endless stream of unverified whispers and anonymous, unconfirmed chatter with the undeniable authority of printed, binding legal text. This development marks a pivot away from unofficial leaks, representing a fully codified, state-endorsed framework. It meticulously outlines the official exchange structure, details the precise valuation mechanism that will be employed, and clearly defines the re-entry pathway for the dinar into the broader global financial system. Worldwide holders, particularly those with the Iraqi dinar, as well as observers tracking the Vietnamese Dong and select legacy Zimbabwean instruments, have collectively interpreted this sweeping decree as the clearest and most forceful signal yet. It confirms that Iraq is now systematically preparing for a widespread and comprehensive foreign exchange activation cycle, moving well beyond preparatory stages. The long-standing, often heated debate over whether Iraq would genuinely modernize its currency is now decisively finished, having been completely overtaken by a much more urgent and acutely practical question regarding the readiness of market participants. The central focus has entirely shifted to whether currency holders and financial institutions are adequately prepared for the exacting operational and regulatory demands of this completely new monetary system. This new structure is fundamentally different and far more rigorous than the comparatively simple cash-based economy that defined the nation's past, necessitating a dramatic upgrade in compliance and transactional oversight. The publication of the decree within the November 2025 Iraqi Gazette is definitively not just a routine, dry economic announcement to be filed away in government archives. Instead, it constitutes a national declaration of fundamental monetary sovereignty and independence. The document explicitly confirms several core foundational objectives, that are deemed absolutely essential for the nation's comprehensive economic recovery and financial stability. This immediately begins with the long, overdue, and targeted elimination of the highly problematic dual rate inconsistencies that have plagued the nation's economy for decades. Iraq's historically fragmented valuation system, where parallel or black market rates diverged dramatically and sharply from the official central bank postings, is now being systematically and explicitly dismantled under the authority of this new legal order. The newly mandated framework compels domestic and international exchange rates to converge seamlessly through a singular, universally transparent pricing mechanism. This action is designed to eliminate the highly lucrative but economically damaging arbitrage opportunities that have historically plagued the currency market and undermined faith in its value. This critical unification of the exchange rates is explicitly presented not just as a goal, but as an absolute prerequisite for gaining international acceptance and securing global financial credibility. It is now woven irrevocably into the very fabric of the nation's financial and monetary law. Furthermore, the extensive document meticulously outlines robust preparations being made to ensure reliable cross-border liquidity and transactional support for the dinar. For the first time since the turmoil of the early 2000s, Iraq has expressed a clear, documented, and state-backed intent to return to international foreign exchange parity models based on tangible, real value metrics. This strategic approach includes detailed assessments of value that are explicitly backed by the nation's vast, tangible natural resources, powerfully signaling a deliberate and calculated move away from a purely fiat-only valuation system. This restoration of its international parity is therefore presented as concrete, actionable policy, entirely separate from mere possibility or speculation. The Gazette outlines specific, methodical steps to smoothly reintroduce the dinar to global markets through the establishment of a modern, highly secure digital interface. This new platform will be fully capable of interacting flawlessly with sophisticated regional settlement systems and the rigorous reporting structures mandated by the International Monetary Fund. The level of clarity provided by the decree is truly unprecedented in the nation's history. Instead of vaguely alluding to unspecified future reforms or noncommittal intentions, the Gazette provides granular, detailed instructions for implementation. This includes step-by-step exchange protocols that clearly outline the process, comprehensive verification procedures to ensure legitimacy, and the precise delineation of jurisdictional authority for managing the transition. This focus on operational detail confirms the government's serious, long-term commitment to a structured and controlled currency transition, minimizing risks of instability. One of the most intensely discussed and debated portions of the Gazette's sweeping provisions is the formal introduction of a sophisticated, tier-based redemption architecture for existing currency holders. This newly mandated system is specifically described as a necessary, prudential mechanism designed to simultaneously maximize overall economic stability during the transition while diligently ensuring equitable and structured participation across different holder demographics, both domestic and international. The tiered redemption system is meticulously organized to prioritize security, manage the controlled release of liquidity, and ensure macroeconomic stability throughout the process. Tier 1 is formally designated exclusively for Iraqi citizens who reside within the nation's borders, reflecting the government's foundational commitment to domestic economic reconstruction and internal stability from the inside out. Tier 2 is set aside to cover Iraqi expatriates and residents of certain key Gulf region nations. The framework clearly grants priority access to Iraqi nationals, who are slated to receive the earliest access to redemption appointments and the selection of available exchange rates. This deliberate prioritization ensures that the domestic economy is the first and primary beneficiary of the coming increase in purchasing power and liquidity. The extensive framework then addresses the international community with specific and clear categorization, a significant move away from previous ambiguity. Foreign holders of the dinar, primarily located within the United States, Canada, Australia, and various parts of Europe, are formally grouped into the third major category of this tiered redemption architecture. The Gazette, for the first time, officially acknowledges the specific existence of these non-resident holders and outlines a formal, government-supported pathway for the official processing of their currency. This acknowledgement is a critical step in building international confidence in the process. Iraqis residing abroad, along with specified residents of the Gulf region nations, constitute the second tier of the redemption process. Their appointments are explicitly scheduled to be managed and facilitated through established embassy centers and a carefully selected network of internationally partnered banks. This controlled, multi-tiered architecture has captivated international financial observers because it appears to introduce a highly controlled, phased release of liquidity into the global market, an essential strategy for minimizing inflationary risk domestically while simultaneously maximizing strategic capital inflows from abroad. A fourth category, often colloquially referenced in specialized private financial circles as Tier 4B, reportedly includes a limited selection of highly vetted non-institutional participants. This group is said to consist of individuals with meticulously documented histories of IQD acquisition through compliant, fully traceable channels, while the official Iraqi decree pointedly avoids using the specific, highly speculative term contract rates. In the public text, it nonetheless strongly suggests the possibility of specific, elevated valuations for these certified, highly compliant participants. These elevated rate structures are consistently implied to be linked to a series of strictly restricted appointment windows, mandatory fingerprint scans, and intensive biometric verification procedures. This rigorous and multi-layered vetting process is a clear indication that the state is actively looking to reward compliance and documented transparency while systematically filtering out illicit actors or undocumented black market currency that cannot be conclusively traced back to legitimate origins of acquisition. This commitment to security is a major signal of the new financial seriousness. A new global standard for security is clearly emerging to specifically address perennial concerns about the circulation of counterfeit notes, potential fraudulent transactions, and identity mismatches within the exchange process. The Gazette mandates the immediate implementation of a comprehensive biometric verification system for absolutely all exchanges, without exception. This includes multi-layered serial number authentication utilizing blockchain-based registries, facial mapping technologies, and rigorous multi-factor identity confirmation at all government-approved institutions and designated redemption centers. The widespread use of biometrics throughout this process is much more profound than just a routine security measure. It powerfully signals Iraq's deep commitment to and alignment with the advanced digital compliance frameworks that are currently being piloted and tested across the BRICS alliance nations, various ASEAN member nations, and several key Gulf states. This major technological leap guarantees that every single dinar exchanged is fully accounted for and that the identity of the person conducting the exchange is irrefutably established, creating an auditable paper trail. For American holders specifically, preliminary reports indicate that this mandatory biometric verification will most likely be conducted efficiently at participating major banks or formally designated redemption centers. Although the Gazette emphasizes that each participating foreign nation will implement its own jurisdiction-specific security layers and protocols, the fundamental underlying requirement for irrefutable digital identity proof remains constant and non-negotiable across all borders. This entire transition marks an unmistakable, pivotal moment in the currency's history and its global perception. The dinar is clearly transitioning from a purely physical currency, historically associated with wartime instability and black market dynamics, into a digitally anchored, globally verified, and technologically secure financial instrument. This fundamental transition necessitates an immediate and profound shift in mindset for existing holders, requiring them to move beyond the simple physical possession of paper notes. They must now prepare to competently navigate a complex, digitally secured, and tightly controlled financial environment where compliance is paramount. Perhaps the single most anticipated element of the entire decree is its meticulously detailed plan for the phased and structured retirement of Iraq's high-denomination notes, particularly the widely recognized 25-0 Euro 0 dinar note and other similar large categories. The precise language used within the Gazette clearly indicates a multi-year extended exchange allowance window, a structured, gradual withdrawal timeline, and an absolute guarantee of fair compensation for all valid, authenticated notes presented through the official channels. This planned, non-disruptive retirement is a key element of the reform. The decree explicitly specifies that holders who can provide documented proof of purchase through formally recognized, compliant dealers will be granted priority status in the verification process. This vital feature is designed to explicitly reward compliance and honest acquisition methods, while simultaneously discouraging and effectively isolating black market acquisition, offering a structured safe harbor for those who have meticulously followed the rules. This gradual strategy is specifically intended to provide immunity from the sudden, sharp devaluation shocks that frequently accompany abrupt and poorly managed currency revaluations, protecting the domestic economy. This overarching shift signals Iraq's strategic and methodical transition toward creating a leaner, internationally compatible, and more functional currency structure, rather than abruptly removing notes from circulation, a sudden strategy that could trigger widespread domestic panic and lead to an immediate economic seizure. Iraq has deliberately chosen a gradual, predictable, and fully transparent approach. The controlled phasing ensures stability and allows the population and financial infrastructure time to adapt to the new realities, preventing panic hoarding or a run on banks. Among the specific banks most frequently referenced in these emerging financial narratives, the world's attention was instantly drawn to the Gazette's specific reference to cooperative foreign jurisdictions that are formally responsible for facilitating the cross-border exchanges. Within mere hours of the news becoming public, highly influential analysts in major global financial hubs like New York, Chicago, and Singapore began circulating reports suggesting that major international banks were already preparing their complex systems for IQD verification, integration, and full compliance. In this rapidly developing scenario, institutions such as Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, and HSBC are widely rumored to be actively implementing new digital note verification scanners, urgently updating their Know Your Customer KYC systems, and preparing their foreign currency settlement modules to be fully consistent with the rigorous new protocols issued by the Central Bank of Iraq. While the Gazette understandably does not name these specific banks directly, its unmistakable references to extensive foreign institutional coordination have powerfully fueled widespread anticipation of a systemic banking overhaul across the West. The clear implication is that the global banking infrastructure is now being quietly, but urgently, upgraded on a massive scale to handle this specific, unique asset class. This process requires a sophisticated, non-standard technological authentication of the physical notes before they can be legally and reliably converted into other major fiat currencies. Under this newly unveiled, complex architecture, U.S.-based holders will fall into specific, highly structured appointment windows, potentially linked to strict compliance timelines enforced by international regulatory bodies. Additional layers of rigorous verification, potentially including full background checks and enhanced due diligence procedures, may be explicitly required for those participants who seek access to the higher or elevated rate options that are suggested within the document. The Gazette's publication has already prompted leading tax specialists to issue urgent warnings to all potential exchangers regarding the complex legality and meticulous reporting requirements for exchanging foreign assets under U.S. federal jurisdiction. Issues such as comprehensive FATCA disclosures, mandatory FinC and Form 114F, bar reporting for foreign, derived proceeds, significant trust and estate implications, and the precise capital gains classification of the proceeds are now immediately at the forefront of the conversation for U.S. holders. Analysts widely believe that the IRS may ultimately be compelled to establish a specific, dedicated foreign currency reporting category to efficiently accommodate the sheer scale of the expected filings from this one massive event. Holders who may currently lack the necessary proper documentation, such as original receipts, notarized invoices, or irrefutable proof of the currencies, Dinar explicitly warned that they may encounter significant, non-negotiable delays in processing or potentially face reduced eligibility for the relevant tiers and rates. This emphatically underscores the critical and paramount nature of meticulous record keeping and documented provenance in this new, fully compliant era of currency exchange. Meanwhile, the profound global implications of this Iraqi movement extend far beyond the immediate Middle East region. Two other nations, Vietnam and Zimbabwe, have simultaneously emerged as secondary focal points for powerful, parallel currency narratives. The State Bank of Vietnam has reportedly adopted specific, mirroring policies that closely resemble Iraq's public pre-announcement sequence, including significant gold accumulation, the establishment of enhanced trade agreements within specific strategic line zones, and targeted currency stability measures to support its export dominance. This sequence of actions is directly leading to widespread speculation about the future valuation of the Vietnamese Dong, suggesting it may follow a similar path. Simultaneously, Zimbabwe's high-profile introduction of the new gold-backed ZiG system has dramatically fueled theories that legacy Zimbabwean instruments may ultimately be eligible for some form of redemption under existing asset-backed clauses contained within African monetary treaties. These parallel movements are seen as interconnected by market observers seeking a pattern. Interest in the IQD, VND, and ZWL has exploded worldwide, with search engines and financial news platforms reporting unprecedented spikes in queries, specifically regarding official exchange protocols and compliance procedures. Taken together, these three distinct national movements powerfully suggest an emerging global alignment between currencies backed by tangible resources like gold or petroleum and sophisticated, modern digital verification frameworks. This is rapidly shaping what many economists are now labeling the new multipolar currency era. This overarching trend clearly indicates a deliberate global movement away from purely fiat-based monetary systems and toward those securely anchored in tangible commodities, robustly secured and tracked by advanced blockchain technology. Content creators and financial researchers producing material on documentation checklists, appointment scheduling procedures, and mandatory compliance protocols have experienced exponential growth in viewership as the public urgently seeks practical guidance on navigating this complex environment. Core financial researchers note that channels and sources utilizing specific keyword clusters, such as IQD exchange framework and immediate redemption steps, are currently experiencing rapid algorithmic elevation across major platforms. This intense surge in public interest is directly driven by the concept of an activation timeline, a concept that is explicitly embedded and referenced within the legal decree itself. The monetary transformation is no longer being perceived as a mere rumor or fantasy. It is an immediate global financial conversation with a legally defined schedule. The Gazette's release achieved much more than simply outlining a new policy. It effectively placed the global financial world on an official countdown to a dramatically new economic reality. Embedded within the legal decree are unambiguous references to a methodical operational schedule that financial theorists have accurately labeled the activation timeline. This is a precise, phased sequence of events specifically designed to transition Iraq's national currency from its historical dormant status to one that is fully globally functional and tradable. While the Gazette understandably refrains from publishing exact hours or dates, its clear references and cross-linked directives with the Central Bank of Iraq paint a precise picture of a methodical, controlled roll-out process. A key near-term date in this unfolding narrative is the designated Systems Integration Day, where major correspondent banks across the United States, Europe, and the Gulf region are reportedly scheduled to synchronously update and synchronize their digital verification platforms with the CBA updated biometric and serial authentication platforms, a critical moment for the global financial grid. In this high-stakes scenario, financial IT specialists describe a sweeping, complex overhaul of the entire internal banking architecture. This massive update includes the deployment of new, high-speed scanning devices specifically calibrated for the new polymer notes, the assignment of secure digital keys to compliance departments globally, and the opening of secure ports for encrypted foreign currency data streams from Baghdad. Non-public Forex platforms, accessible only to institutional trading desks, allegedly began uploading rate placeholders tied to the new valuation model, confirming internal readiness. A small handful of institutional analysts have reportedly leaked that the internal numbers being uploaded fluctuate significantly, igniting intense global speculation and debate among financial elites. The professional financial world has undoubtedly sensed the magnitude of the shift, even as the broader retail markets remain outwardly stable and calm. Institutional analysts quietly whisper that the final switch is being wired into the global financial grid in preparation for the definitive flip. Following this critical integration, reports indicate that vetted holders have begun receiving highly encrypted appointment notifications directly from the designated authorities. These notifications contain embedded links that route compliant holders to secure, dedicated online portals where they can proceed to select specific, time-restricted windows for their mandatory in-person verification appointments. These early, pre-market values remain completely invisible to casual retail traders and the broader public. But for those specialized analysts who diligently monitor dark pool liquidity movements and non-public institutional trading patterns, the pattern of capital repositioning is utterly unmistakable. A major financial realignment is on the immediate horizon and being priced in by institutional players. This sensitive phase is methodically followed by the final activation and opening of regional redemption centers in key locations worldwide. These specialized facilities, which may range from large, secure bank branches to carefully repurposed government buildings, are being strategically staffed with highly trained compliance officers, professional auditors, and foreign currency examiners. The entire process strictly aligns with the Gazette's reference to restricted rate access windows, which analysts uniformly interpret as time-bound, non-negotiable opportunities for those who qualify for adjusted or elevated valuations. Participants describe the process as a structured, multi-step appointment that invariably involves mandatory biometric scans, rigorous government ID verification, a detailed rate eligibility assessment, serial number authentication of all notes, and the final selection of a secure settlement pathway for the proceeds. The International Monetary Fund is reportedly dispatching a small team of auditors to verify that Iraq's foreign exchange activation process strictly aligns with all existing global financial and anti-money laundering standards. The total experience for participants is often described as a hybrid of banking, immigration, and high-level military processing, intensely efficient, brutally precise, and tightly controlled from beginning to end. Meanwhile, Behind the curtain of public visibility, a complex web of high-level negotiations involving the Gulf Cooperation Council, various Western financial ministries, and powerful Western regulatory bodies is working diligently to stabilize the necessary liquidity and manage the float. The resource equation plays an absolutely massive and central role in this entire strategy, with Iraq's significantly growing gold reserves and newly negotiated, long-term petroleum contracts forming the undisputed backbone of its ultimate valuation strategy. Economists now universally classify this ambitious model as resource-backed digital sovereignty, a highly advanced system specifically designed to give Iraq maximum financial leverage in a new multipolar currency landscape. Digital integration enables real-time global settlement capabilities for the dinar, allowing Iraq to determine the currency's fundamental destiny unilaterally and, in the process, decisively unwind decades of lingering foreign financial influence. Perhaps the single most seismic and world-altering change is Iraq's stated intention to pilot oil and energy contracts that are exclusively denominated and settled in the digital dinar. This one singular decision, if successfully pursued, would fundamentally and irrevocably rewire pricing models across OPEC nations, Asia's key energy quarters, and global trade platforms. While the concept remains officially speculative, the mere possibility has already exerted immense pressure on other major resource producers to actively explore their own resource-backed digital currency alternatives. If Iraq succeeds, the dinar could immediately become the world's first widely adopted commodity-tethered digital settlement currency operating at a national scale. This successful move would undoubtedly set off a chain reaction across geopolitical arenas, forcing U.S. financial institutions to confront a profound internal dilemma regarding monetary autonomy and the long-term stability of the dollar-denominated global bond market. As this dramatic narrative concludes with a chronicling of the first week of activation, reports confirm bank lobbies across the U.S. appear superficially calm, even as branch managers initiate their internal, non-public protocols. The documentation divide has instantly become the single defining factor of this new era. Those holders who arrived with meticulously organized receipts, notarized affidavits, and complete digital backups are reported to be moving quickly and efficiently through the structured system. Meanwhile, those who are disorganized or lack proper proof of origin are already facing significant, indefinite delays. The Gazette's message is now unambiguous and universally clear. Success in this new, complex financial system depends entirely on preparation, precision, and demonstrable compliance.